everyone. Welcome to Lauren de Laguna. Today is a very exciting day because we reached 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for subscribing, and I really appreciate it. And people are trickling in. It's going to take a minute, but I just really appreciate every single one of you here, every single one of you chatting, whether or not it's hate chat or whatever. We hit our 1K. And we do interviews, we do true crime, we do law. So click subscribe if you want to see more. Today we have Jack Talcott. Jack Talcott is a really interesting guy. I first saw him on Paul Unslaved's channel. Paul Unslaved. He is known for what others would refer to as sovereign citizens. People who are within that group don't really refer to themselves as sovereign citizens. But I'll let Jack explain that. But Jack is his own unique person. I've talked to Jack several times, and he doesn't consider himself like a sovereign or a citizen. He could probably correct me on this. And we have divulged into fighting matches discussing our ideas before, where I have gotten upset with him. But I think it's because we just fundamentally disagree on life, politics, everything. So it's hard to try to convince one another of the truth. But I think that I am going to just let him explain his side. I'm doing my best to inform you guys that I'm not unbiased. Like, I want you guys to know that where I'm standing from in the beginning, but simultaneously, I do want him to be able to express his point of view without my bias getting in the way too much. So without further ado, I'd like to bring him on. And also, I also really want to deeply thank him for being here, because he takes a lot of SHIT from his friends for being here. If you want to see what he has been through after this interview, you should check out Paul Unslaved's last stream, and you should check out him getting yelled at, like screamed at by multiple guys for just coming on for this interview. And he leaves the interview to come here. So, and it had more people in it, and it has more followers. So it's very nice of him to come here. So even though we disagree, I'm so happy and so honored that he's here. So Jack, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm blessed, and thank you for that honest and accurate and appropriate introduction. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
think it's funny you promote Paul's channel, but that's perfect. You know what? That was his concern, was that if we spoke, it would be in a bad light, and so there's evidence that's not true.
He doesn't like me.
So far. Anyway, yes, thank you for having me on. And honestly, I am on with hopes and excitement, but without an agenda. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You described me accurately, that I am an interesting man. You found me on the Paul Unslaved, which could be described as the archetype of the sovereign citizen, right? What you said is accurate and carefully chosen words, I think.
Right.
I do the same thing. Okay. I try to speak accurately and clearly, but my past has been a very, very interesting story. And because of my very interesting story, it's created a unique perspective on the world. And it's quite different than what I used to believe for myself. Okay.
Yeah. What's your story?
Well, today, this morning, a local pastor was kind enough to meet with me for some coffee, and we talked a little bit about me and my story. So I've had a couple of opportunities today. What is our time look like? What are we structured for?
Well, I've had interviews go up to 2 hours, and I've had interviews shorter than an hour. So I usually keep it in like an hour frame. But I just want you to feel like you can get your story out, explain what you wanted to explain. And I know what story, because we have talked. So I do know what story that you're interested in talking about. And I want to give you that opportunity to talk about that. But also, I really want to get into what I think the chat is interested in, which is the ideology. People are interested in why you're drawn to the sovereign citizens, why you listen to people like Paul Enslaved, why you would, that sort of stuff.
Fabulous. That's it all kind of ties together, my story and how I ended up on Paul's channel, and it's quite interesting and bizarre. So the reason I stand with people like that who oppose the, I'm going to tell you what, if you'll allow me, just let me be myself, okay? And if I say something that doesn't make sense or you disagree with, ask me to explain, okay? And if I may profanities, I'll try to limit those, but it's part of me, okay? And if you just let me be relaxed, then it'll come out so much more clear.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a rare opportunity, not only for you, but for me, because you're learning about me, and nobody has cared to learn about me in several years.
Giving
Okay,
you the floor.
well, my goal for what I want to share tonight is faith and hope and inspirations for a better future for everyone.
Okay.
Okay, my goal. I used to be, I don't know how to tell my story, Lauren, and I'm sorry.
Just
You're giving me the
start.
opportunity.
Yeah, I know. Just start from, like, try to figure out where in the timeline you want to start, and then just try to do it chronologically from there.
Here's I'll jump to the conclusion, right? I'll be real brief and then you can
Exactly.
draw out what you want, okay?
Okay.
I was an admired man, good work ethic, federal job, union leader, diseased alcoholic, suicidal, depressed,
Mm.
okay? In 2016, I checked myself into detox. Oh, and the reason I now know that in hindsight was because of our society. I was brainwashed as a kid, joined the army. The title of disabled vet got me a job at the post office. And so I was a public slave. I was a slave to the system and to my debts. 2016, I checked myself into detox to get some help. Started remembering to learn again.
How much were you drinking at that time when you, like, if you could put it in like bottles per day?
Lauren, I was consciously trying to drink myself to death.
Mm.
I would pray to God, please don't let me wake up.
That's hard. I'm really sorry to hear that.
It was dark. I took myself through hell in this house right here where I live. I lived in hell. And at the same time I was a reliable employee, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I stood up for others at work. I gave of myself and I was on time with my bills and saving for the future and trying to do everything right.
Mm-hmm.
After detox in the rooms of AA, I started learning to trust other people, and that opened the door for my spiritual path. So at the end of 16, and seriously, when I first got to AA, after a week of detox, I'd still go to the meetings and I couldn't even hold a cup of coffee because I had the tremors and shakes so bad. It was disgusting.
Yeah, it's scary to detox off alcohol. It's the only substance that you could die from trying to detox off of.
That's what I've heard. That is
Mhm.
what I've heard. But see, not to bounce the story around, and I'm sorry if I do this, but I said my goal is to try and change the world, right?
Okay.
Well, I believe my life experience is a story that our creator, I say the word God a lot.
Mhm.
My life is a story that God is creating with a lot of lessons to share with the rest of the world.
Okay.
Overcoming, well, I started out poor white trash. I thought I was racist. I was, I think if I hadn't have joined the army, I'd have probably ended up in jail. I was a confused, angry kid.
All right. Honestly, Jack, I'm a little confused by your story. So why don't we just start from the beginning? Where did you grow up?
All over the US. My sophomore year, I moved to a small town up in Northwest Washington, Northeast Washington, Colville.
Were you an army brat or something?
My stepfather he worked in nuclear plants. He was a brilliant, I didn't know it at the time, but he was an absolutely brilliant man. And so he was a quality control engineer of some sort. And so he worked when plants were operating up or shutting down their something. We
Okay.
traveled a lot.
Mhm.
My sophomore year, I moved to Colville. It was my 15th time changing schools. So
Is that where you finally graduated from though?
graduated from there, and a poor kid with no real family, um, no job, no way to afford education. Even though I was smart, the schools weren't for me. So the recruiter showed me how I could get a job.
Mm.
So I got a job and I sold my soul for obedience.
How long were you in the army?
I
Well,
did
military.
army.
What
It
army?
was army. Yeah, I did two enlistments. Um, Taxpayers paid to travel me around the world. So I did 6.5 years is what it was. I went
Okay.
to Germany and Korea and got out at Fort Lewis.
Thank you so much for your service. Um,
It was
after
an experience.
after you left the military, what did you do?
I tried selling cars and then I got a job at the post office.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
when your story begins. The post office.
Pretty much, yeah. So matter of fact, it was beginning of January 99, if I remember right, like January 2nd, 99. I started at the post office. And when I got out of the army, I brought a woman with me.
That happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, and I tried to do my best my whole life. She wanted us to have kids right away. And I was like,
Mm.
no, we're not having kids till we're married. And well, I want to get married. I'm not going to get married until I can support a family. So then we were together, dating, living in an apartment. I got the job at the post office, bought a home, proposed to her. We had our son. I was planning and saving for the future, bought a bigger house. Everything was wonderful. She met a guy who made more money than me.
Mm.
So he fulfilled her in ways that I guess I couldn't. And I allowed that to break me, allowed it to destroy me because the only thing I really wanted was to be a dad. And so when she left, that took half my time with my son, and then my stupid job interfered with that. So it was it was tough, and like I said, I allowed the in hindsight, she never talked to me, and I knew I was right. I knew I was right, but I didn't have the answers. So I allowed my confusion and my resentment to drive me nuts. The punishment was my drinking. God
Oh,
works in mysterious ways,
so
and
that's what onset drinking was your wife.
Yeah. That's what really, it was my excuse. It was my excuse. Well, my drinking became a habit because it was an escape from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
My mind was always focused on problems and safety and rules, right? In hindsight, while I was living a good life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I lived in paranoia. I lived in conditioned confusion, the monkey mind syndrome, where the mind is always going, you can't pay attention to anything. I was always worried about being late, missing a bill, right? What would so and so think about me? What if this decision was wrong? What if I didn't do that right? What if this? What if that? It drove me nuts. And
Okay.
so, television and those stupid games on the phones, dude, I got addicted right along with booze.
Yeah, I'm totally addicted to my phone. I'm totally addicted to. I have my own addiction, so I understand. And especially when it comes to like the monkey mind thing that you said, I get the same thing when I get really worried about stuff. I turn to my addictions. A lot of time that's TV for me. Just like an easy way to shut off my mind is by watching something or playing video games as well. So I totally get that, and it's super destructive. It's extremely destructive. So what did you do? So you checked into rehab?
Checked into rehab. I found strength in AA, but I was still miserable, still looking at bridges, thinking I could drive my car off, still done with life. And at the I dated a woman. I'd been dating a woman for about 5 years at the end of 2017. After she was kind of there. God, it was not a healthy relationship.
That happens in AA.
Well, she had her own demons and addictions. And then she was there when I went through my recovery. But she inspired me to improve. And so when I was trying to get over losing her, the first love after my divorce, I was doing a guided meditation about letting go,
Mm-hmm.
and it moved me, right? I had a shift in consciousness, or I had a conscious awakening, or the Christians might call it, I received the Holy Spirit. Something happened. I felt a powerful phenomenon. And so I sat there in bed crying, and this is the end of 2017. I sat there in bed crying like 6 hours, and I was like, what the hell happened? Why was I so miserable? Why have I been wasting my time in misery? And why do I feel light? Why do I feel love now? What the hell happened? And then I swear I said to the universe, most importantly, how can I figure this out and learn to articulate this for others so I can help other people? Because I was thinking about the other miserable people in AA, clinging to meetings and to a book, kind of like Christians and their book in a church. Well, see, here's where I come in, my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
the uniqueness of me is I do say things that offend a lot of people because I stand against our governments. I stand against the old ways. Let me say that. I stand against the old ways, and I am focused on new ways for our future because governments, economics, and religions have held back the evolution of humanity, and it's time for us to overcome them.
Okay. So that's what brought you to like the Paul Enslaved channel.
Yeah.
So you like heard what he was saying and that inspired you?
He was just a recent discovery. So I'll try. My story is you're following my story though, right? If I can continue the
Yeah,
story, and this is where some of those links I shared with you in email would come in, right?
yeah. Anything that you want to bring up, you've already met and spoke to Henry, so you could just ask Henry for anything, and he could bring that up. And I also forwarded him all the emails you sent me, so anything you sent me, he has.
All right. I don't think we'll need them, but so end of 2017, I experienced a spiritual awakening, an awakening to my consciousness, my the structures of my thoughts changed, right? The paradigms shifted. There's so many ways to describe this. I started out, so I'm at the post office now 18 years, union leader 14 and a half years. I've been president for over 8 years. I know our union contract. I know the postal regulations. I know many of the federal employment and workers laws. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an uneducated man when it comes to rights. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and I was also an arbitration advocate for our
Okay.
union. Okay. You're familiar with that
Mm,
role.
yes. Yeah.
You
I mean, I've
pretended.
never dealt with an arbitration agreement, but for
Oh,
law,
yeah. It's schmucks like us. We pretend to be attorneys, right?
yeah, it's a mediation. Yeah, essentially to
Well,
like avoid court. Yeah, so you don't. I don't know if you would necessarily need an attorney for arbitration, but I think it can be dealt with non-attorneys. Yeah. Okay.
the Postal Service, a federal employer, relies heavily on arbitrations
I'd imagine.
to
So
resolve disputes. And so I used to represent the union just a few limited number of cases, but I was proud of the job I did. I
yeah,
was
you'd have
in,
to know the law. You'd have to know the rights of the employees and the what the postal service can do to the employees, employment law, and all that.
and then plus the rules of evidence and cross examination and all that good stuff too.
Rules of evidence
So
is hard, isn't it?
I never got real versed in it, but I stumbled my way through what needed to be done,
Yeah.
But my point is I was proud of the man I was, even though I was a drunk, right? I was still doing a lot of good things. And
Okay.
I was an instructor for my union and the Postal Service. After my awakening, I started studying psychology,
Okay.
primarily Carl Jung and the Jungian theories of shadow development incorporation. You familiar?
Loosely, yeah.
I started studying psychology and more of history because in 2018, the beginning of 2018, after my experience, I went through my life, looked at my checking account, my relationship, my weight. I was overweight, house
How
was
much did you,
filthy.
how much more did you weigh than do you do now?
I used to walk around about 220, and at that time I think I was right over 200 pounds. I went When I started my practice of mindfulness, I
Mm-hmm.
started practicing mindfulness throughout my day and especially with my food.
Mm-hmm.
That simple act of paying attention to what I was consuming, I went from I went from just under 200 pounds to 140. So I dropped like 60 pounds in 4 months, maybe.
Wow, that's a lot of
And
weight.
and I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't no effort. It was just a change in inner frequency and a change in consumption.
Right. Yeah. I I mean mindfulness is a great skill and it's definitely great in dieting. So you were dealing with your drunkenness, you went to get sober, you felt like AA was a bit of just like a continuous cult, the same issues that sparked your drinking in the first place. So then you decided to study psychology and you after you began studying Carl Jung and others, then where? Then where did you go?
Thank you. Yes. Um, After my awakening, and as I was studying mind, I was studying psychology and mindfulness, some of the ancient philosophies, some of the Buddhic wisdom.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And as I was studying those things and history, being a labor guy with Donald Trump as president, I did not appreciate the state of our nation.
You didn't like Trump?
No, man.
Okay.
I think he represents America perfectly. I think America needs to improve. America and Mr. Trump are in denial about the damages they create and about the good they believe they do.
Okay. All right. Not my opinion,
I
obviously.
understand. Tell you what, let's
So
move
did
on away from that subject. But
no,
he
before
was part of my
before
inspiration.
you move on, did you vote for Biden?
No,
Who did you vote for? If you don't, I mean, you don't have to tell me, but did you vote for Trump then?
no. The last time I voted, it was Sanders. I wrote it in or checked him or whatever.
2016. So after he lost the primaries to Hillary.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I stopped paying attention because honestly,
Okay.
Lauren,
So you're not a politics guy. All right, that's fine.
no, actually, here, 2018, here's what happened. I knew that I could be a counselor or a therapist, right?
Okay.
But I know that it requires you go sit in a classroom and follow someone else's policies of what to learn.
So when you studied psychology on your own.
Yes, ma'am. Self-taught, self-learning.
From where? Like what resources did you use?
Psychology was a lot of online courses, neurolinguistic programming, NLP courses. I absorbed a lot of that's what Tony Robbins uses, right? I used his method. I used the ancient philosophy. I modeled myself as like the original life coaches. The original life coaches were the ascended masters. They were the great philosophers, those of inspirational wisdom.
Okay.
They didn't charge money for it. That's me.
Okay.
So, so 2018, I was inspired by the poor leadership of Donald Trump and decided that our world could use better. And looking at myself, I know Dr. King's message, Dr. Martin Luther King's message. I don't know why we're still having the same friggin' discussion, same arguments. This was a thought I had in grade school when I learned of Dr. King. I was like, why is it still happening? Why wasn't this conflict resolved?
Like
Right?
all of racism?
Yeah, racism and the wealth inequality. I mean, why wasn't that stopped before we were born?
Well, why is wealth inequality bad?
Oh, dear Lord, I love you.
I know every time I scream at you on the phone, you keep telling me I love you, sister, and it pisses me off even more. That is your favorite thing to say. Why is wealth inequality bad?
This is going to detract from where we were going, but because
Okay, if you want, we could get back to that because I would like to finish your story. So
let's
you
do
were
that.
you were drinking.
We'll come back. We'll come back to the money. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. So 2018, I'm a federal employee, postal guy, pretty smart dude, former alcoholic, right? Moving past those things. And I didn't want to walk away from my job, but I did want to do more. So I got the idea that if I could bring what I was learning about mindfulness, if I thought if I could bring what I was learning about mindfulness and psychology and self-development into the postal service, where I'd been for 18 years, right? They're the place that provided for me and my home and my family. I was dedicated to this organization.
Okay.
I thought if I could bring those ideas to the headquarters level, disperse it out throughout the US, well, maybe I could help fellow coworkers like me so they didn't go home and try poisoning themselves.
Right.
And think in the post office, there's over 500,000 employees. They're in every community across the nation. I thought maybe if those employees felt better about themselves and their lives, they'd help the community around them, their families, their neighbors, even more. Better service for the organization, right? Happier customers, better communities. Maybe America starts giving a damn about nations outside of our borders. So
Okay.
I thought the world could improve if I helped the postal service improve. And
So
being
you
a guy
ideas to the postal service, and how did they react?
poorly. Actually, there was many involved. Okay. It started as an email and they agreed to a phone call, but I knew the potential of what I was offering. So I flew myself to Washington, D.C., and I'm proud of this. I met with the executives of one of the largest employers in the nation and told them, gentlemen, I'm here to convince you to hire me for a job you didn't know you needed.
Mm-hmm.
I presented myself. I was trying to convince them to create a job at the headquarters level and promote me into that, maybe even an ad hoc detail to go around and speak. Well, between the beginning of the year and my meeting in March, I'd invested about $40,000 into my education and certification, coaching and speaking.
Damn. Wait, I thought you said this was free education. 40.
Most of most of it was free, but I've invested substantially financially, emotionally, personally,
Yeah.
time. I've
40.
committed myself to knowledge.
Okay.
It just wasn't in a classroom. It wasn't in the traditional methods, right? So after investing a bunch of money into my education, one of my best friends, not to detract, but to add, one of my best friends from high school is a CPA. And so he's been telling me for years, Jack, you need to start a business. You need to do something beyond the post office. You need to do more. Well, here I was finally investing in me. So for the tax write off and crap like that, I filed for a business license.
Okay.
Well, after the meeting, the attorneys in Washington, D.C., they determined that my meeting was illegal.
Mm.
They took the circumstantial facts that I was a federal employee. Okay, I'm a damn postal clerk in Spokane, Washington, right?
Okay.
They alleged that I illegally used my inside position as a federal employee um, to gain the contact information and the opportunity to communicate with decision makers. So those things are all true. And I owned a business. I owned a business because I paid it $125 and filed a, a, a form online. So I was a business owner. Those facts are true, but they refused to accept my intentions were pure. So the attorneys, those guys, the characters who were in those positions, they imagined their job. They're not humans. They imagined themselves to be attorneys, and they imagined their job, they earn their paycheck protecting the United States Postal Service against all injuries, real and imagined.
Yeah.
And so they imagined threats against the Postal Service. I pissed off the wrong guy in DC. They sicked the office of the inspector general after me. And as you can, that one of those documents was, there's no evidence, but there's like 50, 60 pages of them alleging I'm guilty of federal ethics violations.
Okay. Right. I see how that occurred. And what was the resolution? You were just let go?
Oh, it's crazy, man. So when the OIG got involved, all my friends, the supervisors and bosses, my
Mm,
my friends in management and the union, I don't know, they freaked out. They got worried they'd get caught up in the investigation. So everyone started treating me like a criminal.
mm-hmm.
I've spent my life trying to prove that I'm a good man to others. I mean, I literally I was killing myself trying to prove my worthiness to anybody. And here I was, all that hard work and effort, just nope, Jack's a criminal.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's really hard.
It drove me nuts, dude.
Yeah.
So I did end up with symptoms of anxiety one day at work. Went to urgent care. My physician placed me off work because of the conditions, right? There was so much uncertainty in the way, and the work environment is what there was a causational relationship between the work environment, management, and the inspectors were creating, and the symptoms that manifested. So it was everything was legitimate up and up.
All right.
2 weeks turned to 2 months, and the Postal Service never let me come back to work. They ended up manufacturing disciplines against me, and then went through the monkey business of overturning the early disciplines, and then they ended up terminating my 22-year career there because I failed to convince a human being, a doctor, to give me a permission slip that returns back to my federal employment status. It's kind of an unbelievable story, but I swear to God, it's true. I'm a
I'm not
perfect.
gonna let that happen to you. I really am. And I see that it's changed your entire foundation on life. So after all of this, this is what led you to seek further information. Is that correct? And how to like maybe live a life that wouldn't rely so heavily on
Yeah,
government or capitalism or
pretty close to that. Yeah, pretty close to
so
that. So
is that when you became like a sovereign? And do you consider yourself a sovereign?
here's what I've learned, okay? So,
And one more thing.
hmm,
We are taking questions at the end if that's okay with you, right?
please, please,
Okay.
and
So
thank
at the
you.
end, so if you have any questions, chat, make sure you save them and we'll fire them away at the end. Go ahead. So like you became
There
a
was a
thought.
question.
The question was, so did you begin to consider yourself a sovereign at this
Yeah.
point?
Oh, the sovereign. Yes, the sovereign question. Okay, so not to give you a difficult long answer.
A
That's
jello,
not my. What's that?
a jello answer.
Yeah, not to create that image again, but to more accurately explain, okay?
Okay.
The sovereign thing, I believe it's accurate. Okay, the
Okay.
citizen thing, yeah, okay, you can apply those terms. I'm a human being. This is what it is.
You could be two things at the same time. So, for instance, I am both a human being and I am a female and I'm a brunette. You see how I'm three things that
Yep,
well,
our
I'm
human.
you. Are you a human that is also considering yourself to be a sovereign?
Actually, let me be more accurate. I am an eternal being having an experience as a human.
Not my question, but I like the answer. Very interesting. Very, very Jack Talcott.
Thank you. Well, see, here's where I'm at. I told you I wanted to be comfortable, and this is everything I've said is true. This is the first opportunity anyone has really tried to wrap their heads around what's going on. So I am absolutely grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you coming here. You had to freaking fight your way through the Sovs to get here. You told the King Sov to come down a peg. It was pretty funny to watch. Yeah, he is not a fan of me. Not a fan.
What I've been learning, I've been allowing, I've been learning, I've been here. Okay, let me get back to the story to answer your question, though. Okay.
Okay.
2018, here I am. I no longer have, oh, and at the same time, so after after my efforts to try and change the world through the post office were misunderstood, and I was accused of all these things, at that same time, my ex-wife turned my 15-year-old son against me.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
so since my
How,
friends, what's that?
how so?
He started, you know what? There's been confusion everywhere in every relationship of my life since 2018. This is what I shared with the pastor this morning, okay? It's
Okay.
in hindsight. It is in hindsight that all of this is clear, but the progression is I lived in hell and as an alcoholic. My
Okay.
choices,
Okay.
okay? 2018, I chose to change. My choices.
Okay.
Looking at myself and the past, I saw similarities and distinctions between me and the messages, the work of Dr. Martin Luther King. It blew my mind as a kid. Why are we still having these same conflicts? Right?
The conflict of racism?
Yes. It blew my mind. Even though I used to be
I
racist
think
as a
it's
kid.
been around since the dawn of the Tower of Babylon. It
Yes, ever since the invention of money. Ever since the invention of money, it became important.
was the Tower of Babylon the same
I don't
as the invention of money?
I don't
It
know. You know
just
what? I'm talking out my ass with assumption on that part. Let's get back. Let's come back. Okay. Everyone I know became confused about me. And here's what I believe. My goal is, and what I believe is the post office is a path towards my goal. Okay. The postmaster general and my national union president, those two men are responsible for the wrongful termination of a damn good man, a man who served his nation and his employer honorably and with dedication. So those two men, I believe, can share a conversation with me so we can discuss the facts of me and what has happened with me at the post office. Now, those two men, the postmaster general is an appointment from, he was appointed by Donald Trump. So we can come back to Donald Trump. I've been trying to reach Donald Trump since 2018
for what purpose?
to talk some sense into him.
In what sense?
He's nuts.
You okay, just to be clear, you are trying to contact Donald Trump because you think he's insane and you believe a conversation with him is going to make him sane.
I think if given the opportunity that God can reveal miracles.
I believe God can do miracles as well. I just don't have the confidence that God would allow me to take a conversation with someone that I think is insane and through conversation with me would allow them to become sane.
Can I explain why I think it?
And one more question. If you reach out to Donald Trump so fervently to turn him sane, are you reaching out to Biden as fervently to turn him unsenile?
No, I didn't feel as much
Okay,
connection to Biden. Biden just needs to be put in a home, man. He's
we agree on something. We agree on some. He is in the home. Unfortunately, it's a White House. It's the wrong.
right. What the hell is wrong? Lauren, this is my here. You know what? This is going to all make sense because we're having fun with this, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. We're having a great time.
When we have fun, it's easier to understand each
I'm
other.
so confused how you're involved with the sovereign citizen community. You're actively like every time I look at Paul Unslaved's channel, you're on the panel. So I think people would consider you a sovereign or at least preaching sovereign ideas, no?
Yeah, God help me. My life is a joke. That's how I spend my time. You're right. I'm on a friggin' YouTube channel with sovereign citizens talking about crap. That's where my life is at, Lauren. Crap was a very
I
poorly chosen word. Holy crap. Excuse me. There is, you know what? There's wisdom amongst the chaos. That's the problem. This is what I learned.
Wait, so do you agree with Paul or do you not? I invited
No,
you. I'm trying to
yes,
understand that
yes.
man. I think
Paul,
and I am trying to understand, and I figured so you do or do not agree with him?
yes, I agree with Paul. There are very few people I promote, and I do not promote. I'm not going to speak ill of the man, but
Don't.
the facts of his broadcast is that there is a lot of chaos that you have to get through in order to hear and to receive the wisdom. Paul is a beautiful, beautiful messenger of truth. It
Yeah.
flows through him very well.
He called me the whore of Babylon.
Yeah,
Like,
his
what does that
opinions. His
mean?
opinions reveal his character, as do
Mm,
all of ours.
yeah. Okay. Anywho, so if you believe in Paul, this means that you can revoke your citizenship, get rid of your social security card, get rid of your driver's license, stop paying taxes, just defy the law and live by admiralty law. Is this how you live your life?
Understanding my deeper understandings of the levels of corruption, they're newer in my life, right? So I haven't had to renew my license or renew my tabs or anything like that. Financially, I haven't been able to afford insurance for a couple of years. So fuck, I, life is what it is.
Do you pay taxes?
I've had no income since 2018,
Okay.
and my finances are another crazy story. Here, Lauren,
Maybe
I've
some
been,
cat is looking for, employees. It's a crazy job market out there. You never know. So,
well, here, you're kind of missing the point of who I am.
so you don't want a job now.
I want to end slavery.
Do you think working is slavery?
When the purpose of the labor is for money only, it is slavery.
What you want, there's certain jobs that it's hard to like incentivize with, you know.
See, here, let me get to me, right?
Okay. Okay.
Inspired by Dr. King, he sounded a lot like that guy Jesus. Okay. He was talking a lot of the scripture and the same messages that Jesus was.
Well, he was a preacher that preached from the
Right.
Bible, so that might be
Truth.
why it sounded similar.
Truth. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a kid, I saw the hypocrites that went to church. And so I was like, why should I waste my time? It doesn't do these guys any good. And I
Okay.
still see it today. The the churchians have been misled. And so I studied God. I studied wisdom. What I've come to learn is that there is nothing more than truth. Truth is the only thing that matters. Truth is what is real. What is real is what we experience. Following me?
Okay.
The way our minds work, when we start making excuses for ourselves, when we keep secrets, when we lie to each other, we push ourselves consciously, our minds, we push ourselves away from reality. And
Okay.
so what happens then is you've got people that are confused, they're reactive, they're detached, right? You get all these people that are reacting to words, reacting to opinions. We live in a world of reactions and karma. Karma is part of the structures of our reality. It's up to us in this lifetime. And I'm sorry, I just realized I started one place. I don't even know where the hell I was going.
I don't know either. I was just there for the ride. I'm here. I'm here to enjoy whatever it is that you want to say. I'm just curious. Okay, so let's get back to a question that we said that we were going to circle back on.
Okay.
Why is inequality in wealth a bad thing? Why do you think?
Because we are all one.
Are we though? Are you and I the same person? We're the same person?
Let me break it
You have a
down.
nice rack?
What's that? I wish. Golly, jeez.
Like, we're not the same person. You're not a female.
No,
I'm not a male.
no, we are totally unique, but there
You're,
is no separation between us. What we are, we
so
are
then
both.
I want your laptop. Can I just have your laptop then? I only have an iPad. It would be really nice if I had a laptop. So why don't you, if it's all the same, why can't I just have your laptop?
What's the greater purpose?
I
Yourself?
want it, and like I'm building a YouTube channel, and I can't afford a laptop, and so you should give me your laptop. I'm trying to go based off your logic. If we're the
Well,
same, right? And
selfish,
equality
selfish
is
people
bad.
seek what they want. Honest people receive what is offered.
Okay, but you admit that there's both selfish and honest people in the world. So if we had a system that in which we're all supposed to get the equal amounts, but you just grab as much as you need, don't you think the selfish people would manipulate said system?
I think if we work together, we can help each other overcome not only our selfishness, but our false beliefs of need. Like we don't need law enforcement and policing in our communities. We don't need
So you're
prison and
for
punishments.
the police movement?
I'm for freedom. Freedom and morality are tied together, so I'm for morality.
So you're for abolishing police, abolishing prisons. Usually when I hear abolitionists talk, especially like when I was in law school, the same people who were pro abolishing the prisons were also pro abolishing the Constitution.
That's an interesting, yeah, I've met a few people who are about that. And they present some pretty interesting arguments as to why the Constitution is not valid and how it is actually being used against us. There's a case to be made. However, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at. Humans, us people, you know, the ones that we breathe, we bleed the same, we feel the same emotions. Everything we eat turns to poop. We're all the same people. Okay? there's We're nature.
could say the same thing about a dog, right? Dogs also bleed, dogs also eat, and everything turns. You could say the same thing about a fish. You could say the same thing about basically any animal. And then I could even argue that humans bleed differently. Like hemo, like the people that get blood clots easily, hemo something,
Okay,
whatever.
so then, yes, you're right. You can find differences, but then you need to
Right.
weigh the evidence and consider, are the differences relevant? Because when it comes, you're right. We share the same structures, the same life form as other forms of life in nature. You're right. But what distincts us from the animals is our human consciousness.
So once again, why is inequality in wealth bad?
Because there is no separation. We are only one. Here, we
That,
are,
that's wrong.
Lauren,
But
Lauren, let me try and develop this to paint a picture a little more clear. When I say we're one, we're
okay,
obviously not one.
right. That's what I was saying.
Okay. But what we are is perspectives. Okay. We're both sharing an experience, two different perspectives, and apparently there may be others paying attention, or there will be at some day. We're two human perspectives sharing language and time.
Yes.
That's all we are. We are thoughts and feelings experiencing time.
Very Descartes, and I appreciate that. Um, that being said, how in this experience of life does having inequality in wealth harm our lives? Like, for instance, I am not as wealthy as Jeff Bezos.
Right.
However, I am capable. I have a pretty decent life. And I would say even the poorest American in America has a better life than the average person in a third world country, or at least the average impoverished person in a third world country. So, and then also what I've noticed is countries that attempt to get away from the inequality and create equality among all, in order to do so, they have to have a government which is able to seize all the wealth and then distribute it evenly, which usually turns into an autocracy, and leads to communism, and then leads to the death of millions, and usually not a positive outcome, which is why we've had our screaming matches in the past. So what I don't understand is what's so wrong with two people having a difference in wealth, so long as they're not both like, I would rather be the poorer person in a wealthy country than be equally poor to every single person in the nation, as long as we're all equally poor. Like Venezuela, for instance, like everybody there is equally poor. Or
Oh, okay.
mm-hmm. I mean, China has its bureaucracy elite that are extremely successful because they're corrupt, because they're a corrupt communist country, and then the average Chinese person is unbelievably poor, and it's like that throughout the country.
I love you, my friend.
This is what you've been telling me when we argue. Yes. It's a nice way to argue with someone. I'll have to definitely use that next time I'm arguing with someone in the future.
Well, I'm listening to your words, and I don't disagree, okay? But
Okay.
your biases, okay? You view the wealthy in China as corrupt, but in fact they're actually successful capitalists.
Well,
China is a melding of capitalism and communism where the state controls the capitalism. America, the
did it start off
capitalists
like
control
that?
the state.
Did communist China start off like that under Mao, or did it start off 100% communist and then they started faltering and the country began going bankrupt, and then eventually 16 farmers.
Hey, Lauren.
I'm just okay. The capitalism is what saved China. The small part of China which runs in the capitalist system is what
Okay.
caused. Mhm.
So obviously there's been good. Okay. I'm not denying that. America has great values, great ideals, the innovations, the Industrial Revolution, everything has been great, but we've got to humble ourselves to what is real. Okay? And what is real and what is true, it should not cost money for a fucking human to learn or to survive. It should not cost us money to educate each other's children. We should be working together to help each other learn. But see, we live in a world where money is the excuse for separations. It's the excuse for secrets. It's the excuse for manipulation, oppression, censorship. Money is the root. You know what? You know what? Good game, God. Give it up to God.
Why?
This is God's story, man. That's what history is. God's story being revealed. You and I, we're just characters of the moment.
You're a character. I'll give you that.
When my words sink in, you'll know.
Okay. I'm waiting. Well, so you wouldn't consider yourself a sovereign then?
I'm a child of God,
Child.
and I live here freely in
And
a
so you
world
have
of
your driver's
insane and confused. I do have I
when it
believe I
comes
still have a current license. My passport might have expired. I don't know.
the government is so corrupt. I don't blame people for trying to live outside the laws. We just need honest people to take back control, get back to constitutional law enforcement. So you get rid of law enforcement in prisons. Where would you put Daryl Brooks
I
if
don't
there
know
were
who
no
that is.
the man who ran his vehicle into a parade, killing 6 and injuring 60? So what would you do with that man if there's no prisons in your ideal world?
It's something I hadn't considered, but it breaks my heart that that's something we even have to fucking talk about.
Yeah, Daryl Brooks.
Here's,
And
here's why. No, here's why. Let me explain this. Because in this world of inequality that drove me, a damn good man, I am a damn good man. I know who I am.
I think
I've
you're nice. I think you're
I've stopped allowing separations between God and I. I've surrendered myself to the God of creation, and I allow the truth to flow with me with love.
right. This is the question I want to ask. No law enforcement or prisons. What does he do with Jeffrey Dahmer, chomos, career manipulators who damage and hurt innocent people? What you like the chomo for me? What do you do with that?
Jomo?
Well, you could read it. I don't want to say it. Just read the comment. You'll know what I mean.
Yeah. Those are all sicknesses.
I know. What do you do with a person who's sick like that? I would like to put them behind bars.
You make sure they are safe and the community is safe through treatment and education. And here's the reality. We live in a world where, and I'm going to speak truthfully with conclusions. So if you disagree, please don't argue, just try to understand and we can figure it out. Paint this picture, right? We've got a loving God that cares for everything. Hypothetically, This loving God creates time and space for form and energies to mature and develop. Time and space created the universe, the sun, Mother Earth, eventually plants and animals and us. And here we are, poof, right? So the loving God that reveals time, reveals the future to us, each of us, moment by moment, that God knows this is just a mind game. Okay, this human experience, all we are is perspectives of God's consciousness. We're imagined beings. Feel free if questions.
Right. I'm okay. Do you think we're living in like some sort of a matrix?
It's possible.
Okay,
It's
so we're living in some sort of a matrix. So essentially, it doesn't really matter if we take these chomos and put them in prison because it's just a matrix thing and we should just be working together to get the feels up or some hippie stuff.
Can I tell some of my story to answer that question?
Okay, yes, you can tell as much of your story as you want, but you keep saying that you want to live in reality, but then you believe reality is essentially just some sort of God's matrix.
It is. And it's up to us what we create. We create everything through our thoughts. Our thoughts, our thoughts create our feelings create our actions create the experience and the environment we experience. Okay?
Just a random question, just so I know where you are, you're like your headspace is at, coming from left field here. How many genders are there?
I go with brothers and sisters, man and woman. I know there's a lot of, see here, I believe in love and I believe in open love and self love, loving oneself. But we live in a confused world where trauma, we've got a society that literally profits from trauma, wars, violence, fears, punishment. That's how this society runs. That's what drives it. So we've got a bunch of people that have childhood trauma in a society with miseducated professionals who don't know how to treat trauma. So the society enables trauma to continue. So we've got a bunch of confused people thinking they know what's going on, but they don't.
Okay. It um so two genders?
What happens is when people, thank you for bringing me back. What happens is when people are childhood trauma, right? It can be the smallest thing. Mom and dad dump the kid off to go to work, right? Miss something important to the kid. The child is traumatized. They feel insecure. They don't know who they are because this is a confusing world and they're trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, capitalism is driven by opinions, not facts. Okay? Opinions started wars. Opinions put people in prisons. Opinions destroy men and women. We allow opinions to friggin' destroy us, right?
Sometimes. Depends. Yeah. I sure, like political opinions could destroy um relationships, and religions of opinion can destroy relationships. Your opinion about yourself can destroy your self-confidence. Sure. Okay.
Opinions are what keep us separated from understanding, and understanding is where love is known. So our opinions actually keep us separated from loving one another.
Okay. I'm gonna take a couple of steps back. Do you believe I personally am able to get rid of my social security number, my driver's license, and everything, and go about my life living as a sovereign, free of American laws and all that silliness.
Under the current rules of society, you can certainly do stuff. I know there's ways people are coming up with creative ways of filing their notice and petitioning and doing stuff like that. You can do whatever you want. You just got to accept the consequences.
So the consequences are like jail, though, right?
Well, jail should not be the consequence. People should be allowed to travel and express themselves freely. People should be able to live freely until they cause harm or injury to another. Now, hurting someone's opinion, that's not injury or harm to another.
Mm. It's a very conservative thing for you to say. That
Truth is the only thing I care about anymore. This is my point. I've
very
given my life to truth. I've
mm.
sacrificed my family, my career, my reputation, my I've I've risked everything for truth, and it's out of love. Not love for myself, love for peace, love for a new world, love for a better future. So my son doesn't have to work as hard as I did.
You're still in contact with your son, right?
No, no one will help me, and my numbers are blocked.
Oh, that actually really devastates me. You know, there is something called parent alienation, and I'm not sure what state you're in, but that can be illegal, and you should look into. I mean, I very much would recommend you hire an attorney. I'm not an attorney, but I'm really sorry to hear that. That's really devastating.
Lauren, dear, I appreciate it. I'm in Washington State, but see, and you're right, this is the thing. Since I committed myself to my goals, everyone has misunderstood me. And so since 2018, Lauren, I have been wrongfully accused, and I've been denied opportunities to face my accuser. So I'm trying to have a conversation with a 20-year-old man. I don't know that I need an attorney necessarily to
Me,
help
me,
me. But
year old man.
no, my son. My son is the 20-year-old man I'm trying to talk to.
Yes.
But I'm also trying to talk to Donald Trump too.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep going down that route. I don't think that. Look, if you had something very specific you wanted to say to him, sure, write him
I
a letter.
do. I've got a lot I want to tell him because here's
Okay,
what I realized.
let's say you have someone's like, okay, you have the opportunity to talk to Trump, but you have 3 sentences. What you say to him?
My name is Jack Talcott. I teach leadership. I am a man today who is the antithesis of both Jesus Christ and you, Donald Trump. We should talk.
Summed it up into 2, but then so it's just putting out there for him for a longer conversation. It's not, you didn't give him the, okay, all right, let's answer Bad's question. Jack, if we don't pay taxes, who will pay for hospitals?
Let's move beyond the idea of paying. Okay. Let's find ways that our communities can better support the hospital workers, the healers, and those who care for us when we're sick. Let's find a way to move beyond that so we don't have the executives of the hospitals raking in millions of dollars while these hardworking men and women are slaving away. Let's bring some equality and equity into this damn society.
So it's like the owners of businesses that you think are not working hard and taking on too much reward.
I think the wage inequality of this nation is despicable. Supposedly, we live with freedom and equality, and yet our government allows corporations to deny workers' rights.
Well, no, we have workers' rights.
No, not the rights to organize. Look at what Amazon and Starbucks are doing, opposing the efforts of the workers.
Still, I mean, it's illegal to prevent employees from unionizing. So
Right, but our government turns a blind eye and continues to allow the slave owners to oppress the workers. Here, I didn't say this earlier, but here's me, who I am. I'm Jack Talcott. I'm an advocate for truth. I'm a man of peace. I'm pro-labor and anti-jobs. I think humans work too hard. We can work with less effort and greater value if we end competition. The way to end competition between us is through cooperation and through collaboration, through shared ideals, shared values, shared goals, right? The only way you wait, go ahead.
don't you think competition inspires some people to become the innovative people that they are today? Like, do you think Elon Musk would exist if there weren't competition? Do you think he would have created PayPal and then gone on to create Tesla and SpaceX and Boring Company? Like, do you think he would have gone on if he was told no matter what innovations you come up with, you're going to receive the same amount as anyone else, and the government will immediately seize any innovation upon which you create?
It's an interesting scenario. Um, I don't dismiss the value of competition. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'd love to address that.
You want to
Um,
address this question right here, the tribes question?
well,
Or what?
let
Okay.
me answer your other one.
Oh.
I don't dismiss the value of competition. Competition is part of the human nature, the creative nature. We are creators,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But we're also nurturers, we're conservers, right? We're not just consumers and producers, we are creators. And so competition does inspire creativity. However, competition with secrets Competition with secrets creates wars. Humans are dying in Ukraine, and Americans are paying for their deaths with our taxes right now because of competition and secrets
Well, I would
and
say,
opinions.
uh, okay, what led to the invasion of Ukraine? Well, a lot of things. A lot of things led to it. We could start with the Orange Revolution, where, the Western world has been essentially involved in Ukrainian government and corrupting it for a really long time and taking over power structures and just general fuckery. And we Biden on day one in office got rid of Keystone Pipeline and signed off on Nord Stream 2. And then when Nord Stream 2 was built, this made Germany dependent on Russian oil, which allowed Russia to feel as though they could invade without consequence. And then also the United States was no longer exporting energy. And so when Europe became reliant on Russia for energy, they felt as though they could invade Ukraine. And they also wanted to invade Ukraine because there's talks about Ukraine joining UN because they have been so heavily influenced by Western culture. And so this led to a lot of the conflict. And then, basically Biden was led to the conflict less so than secrets and money. But yeah. Okay, so why do public servants need unions?
Because all workers should be organized. Because in the society we've created with the class structures, workers are the ones who built this nation. Workers built the homes, built the stadiums, built the roads. Workers are the ones who move society. And without workers, without organization, the bosses use that paycheck and that threat for firing, we have greater numbers when we come together. And I tell you what, I learned this in the unions of solidarity. Okay, brothers and sisters, we are living through a unique time of history. The future depends on us.
But you don't consider yourself a communist, right? And that was what our phone calls
Correct.
always divulged into, was me screaming at you that you're a dirty commie, and you saying, but I'm not a communist. And I'm like, yes, you are. You're preaching communist propaganda. It's okay. But
There's similarities. I don't deny that there is similarities, okay? But my words are very clear. There's options for us to move beyond the control of money. And just sit back and think about it seriously. If secrets are no longer legal, lies are no longer profitable, that means facts and evidence, truth, can reign supreme over our choices, not authority or someone handpicked to be titled as expert. We actually allow the facts to be clearly visible for anyone who wants to know, and we use the collective cognition, the collective inspiration of the American ingenuity, the global ingenuity to lead our future forward.
so, like, if you were running Twitter, let's say, would you make misinformation? Would you like ban misinformation on Twitter, and then would you have someone screening tweets for misinformation?
You know, that's an interesting one that I don't know. Here's what I know. You familiar with Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson?
I am.
He's another man who I'd love to talk to. He inspired me a while ago.
You're the most confusing person, but go ahead. So you're both a right-wing extremist and a communist, and also an anarchist. Good to know. Let's go.
Now you're getting me.
Very cool.
I'm unlimited. I'm diverse. I've lived 100 different lives, maybe 1,000 different lives in this lifetime. I know who I am because I spent most of my life being wrong. Today, I feel like I live in heaven. My life is a dream. Truth is true. Amen. There was something you said, and I was responding, and I forgot what it was. I'm sorry.
Probably wasn't that important then. I am scanning the chats for questions. So keep in mind, people, if you have any questions, this is definitely the time to ask it. Yeah.
Can I paint a picture for you? A future I imagine. Okay. My trademark is live without fear. I'm not promoting me, but I am promoting the message. Okay. And I'm not selling shit. I'm giving this away. My love. Okay. We have the option of replacing fear with love at any time we choose. And the way we find love is through gratitude, right? Without gratitude, there is no love. And the way to overcome our fear is with faith. How do you show faith? It's not by going and reading a book. It's not by going and sitting on a lecture, in church. It's not about singing songs like a fan, right?
Yeah. Okay, I have two questions.
Yeah.
One, what? Okay, we'll start with this one. Do you think it's respectful the way Paul treats you? Like, Paul is supposed to be, or anyone on his channel. Why do you tolerate that? And also, he's like, especially what bothers me is like, the people on his panel are supposed to see him as like this enlightened person who is preaching truth or whatever, and that's what everyone on the panel says. Does he act like somebody who preaches truth or is enlightened in any respect?
My opinion is just an opinion, but I do hear a lot of wisdom from him. Paul Paul is a man very, very much like me. He doesn't admit it yet, kind of like you don't.
Yes, you and I are the same. We've already discussed this.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
opinions keep us separate. And here's my reality. 2018, flat earth, round earth, doesn't matter. We're living as slaves. We're paying for wars and education on top of survival. Let's focus on fixing our problems before we, and actually, when secrets are no longer legal, guess what? We'll solve the riddle, right?
I love riddles. Can't wait to solve it.
When humans stop lying to each other, we'll figure this crap out pretty quick.
All right. Next question. Do you believe the earth is flat?
That's the one I just answered. I don't care. I care about how we live. Oh, and here,
Wait,
the
you just
future.
that? I did not hear your answer. You
Flat,
think that
flat
will
or
be the
round?
solving of the riddle is when we stop lying. So wait, yes, okay. Yes or no? Is the earth flat?
I lean towards the globe Earth and the infinite space. Okay.
As opposed to
As opposed to the flat Earth theory and the dome and many of the other theories that are out there. I don't understand a lot of them, but I follow enough science, and actually there's a channel I follow, not to promote anyone, but he is
no,
someone.
promote whoever you want. I don't give a flying crap.
His name is Ben Davidson, and he does a channel called Suspicious Observers.
Okay, everyone go check out Ben Davidson with Suspicious Observers.
He's a brilliant man who follows the new science regarding the sun, the magnetic fields, nature, the physical universe is what his field of study is.
Does
And
he
he
believe
talks,
it's flat or
no,
round?
well, he's building on the data from NASA, and that's the guy. He builds on the data from NASA, and he's a brilliant dude. I mean, I respect what I hear, and his focus though is on sharing the messages of catastrophism and the fact that Earth is coming into some changes. It's changing now, whether we want to change or not.
Like
Earth is
global.
changing. Climate's changing. Everything's changing.
Yeah, climate change. Right.
It's
So
not it's not due to the reasons they said, and there's a lot of corruption in the green movement. I'm not denying any of that. But this is where my sense of urgency comes in, is if we are headed for any potential catastrophisms, solar flares, stuff like that, that might wipe out our current methods of society. If we're heading towards anything like that, we need to change the way we live together. We've already got millions and millions of people in refugee status, people without homes right now, today. If something happens to our society worse than what has, man, there's going to be chaos, and we got to avoid that. We got to start coming together to prepare. That's the message I want to share.
okay. So then what's the solution to these future catastrophes if they're just going to happen? Is the solution to stop doing the First of all, do you believe these future catastrophes are caused by human?
Some of them are. I
So
mean,
should we stop doing those things? Like we should stop driving cars, flying jets, farming?
I believe a lot of the changes in our climate, in our weather, are a direct result of how we've disrespected the mountains, the rivers, we've got scientists spending energy and putting chemicals into our stratosphere during the climate engineering, whatever it's called, right? This stuff is happening right in front of our eyes. We've got fellow citizens earning their paychecks, screwing with our climate. We've got obedient employees putting toxins and poisons into our rivers. Humans are polluting and consuming and destroying our planet, putting trash everywhere. All for that money, baby.
Sometimes for convenience. Like it's
Right.
easier to litter than it is to throw it in the trash can. So.
Laziness makes good slaves.
I was a super rude host and I did not ask for
Oh,
you to plug your channel. So please go ahead, plug whatever channel you want, your any social media, whatever it is that you would like to do.
thank you. Please and thank you. Honestly, I'm only on social media because of my bizarre situation and my goals. I'm on social media trying to find people who want to have conversations with me. Okay, yep. So if you want to chat, YouTube, I half-ass do videos on YouTube, but it's for inspiration and documentation.
You show half your ass on YouTube. Sure, there are pornography rules on YouTube. Don't allow you to do that. So please knock that off. Or you got in trouble
um,
already.
the other way to reach me is I do share inspirations on Facebook. Facebook and YouTube. You know what? They're curses because they're censored, and we are the slaves. Our data, our information, we're being sold. We're just information and consumers and money. That's all we are. But you know what? We're so blessed today. Dude, I don't know where you're at in the world, but I'm sitting all alone in my comfy living room and I'm having a conversation. This is kind
I
of cool.
know. So many people were in chat were talking about how they could see themselves hanging out with you. They definitely feel like you may be a smoker and they feel like to partake with you. It's probably them hippie vibes that you're giving off.
I'm all about the love, Lauren.
I know you've mentioned you love me several times. You have been very open about that. Okay, we're gonna take 3 more questions. Sound good? All right, I saw something. Okay, I think what he's trying to get at here is if you want to help people, do you allow the homeless to live with you?
I have.
You
I have.
have.
Hey, 2018, I set the goal for myself to become a man more like Jesus. You believe I didn't go out and try and serve others? You better believe it. I've had meth heads, heroin addicts. I've been pepper sprayed. I've been robbed out of my house. I've been, yes, I've placed myself in discomfort and even in danger for the purposes of trying to help my fellow man.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. Did you also wash their feet?
I didn't go that far.
Okay. Archangel, I see that you want me to answer your question. I don't see your question in chat. I've scrolled for it. I can't find it. So please go ahead and post it again now. Yeah. Are there any homeless people living with you now?
No, dude, I can't even get homeless people to spend time with me. Nobody likes me. It's
Becky, I like you. And I didn't.
no, yeah, I
How
can't
proud
tell.
of me are you for not screaming at you this entire? I didn't call you a dirty commie once. I
No,
did
you didn't.
not a one time. So
Eventually, you'll recognize you never should have.
no, I think I still stand by it. Reptile people, thoughts? Such
You
a
know what, dude? Reality is far, far, far stranger than fiction. So I do not know.
aliens.
And you know what? Hey, you know what? In the in the development and the theories of evolution within us, we've got a reptilian brain, right?
Obviously.
We advanced from reptilian into mammalian into what we are, and supposedly we're conscious and intelligent, but dude, we pay for wars. Did you
Right?
know that? Did you know we pay for money to live?
Then how intelligent could we possibly
Freaking
be?
stupid.
So stupid. We're so stupid.
It's insane.
Oh, this is a good one. Are you vaccinated?
I was blessed when the scare started to have no one who cared about me, so I stayed at home all the time, and I never felt the need. Um, and as I started learning more, I'm quite glad that I did not make that choice.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Well, just know that you can no longer say no one cares about you because I care about you. And I know my producer Henry cares about you. And I know there's plenty of people in chat that care about you. And then also, even though those Paul enslaved guys really gave you crap before you came over here, I think deep down, when they're not, having their heads so far up their own arses, they deep down care for you.
I believe that as well. And Lauren, thank you again. You may not realize this, but the uniqueness of my story,
Mm.
the confidence I have in my goals, I believe, well, I've faced the choices and I'm committed. I've proven that I'm willing to die for world peace and global reform. Come be a leader. No, I live, you know what? The words of Jesus are my own. I adopted those for me. I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't give a damn about anyone's judgment, anyone's opinions. I am here to change this world. I didn't know that. I denied that about myself, but today I know you are. I know everyone watching is. Everyone is here to shine their light, bring their uniqueness, overcome their fears, embrace and develop their talents and skills, because there's plenty of problems in this world, right? They exist for us to receive the fulfillment and success of overcoming them.
Yes, we have obstacles so that we could overcome them. Well, I appreciate your time so much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everyone in chat, and thank you for helping us reach 1,000. Make sure you keep watching. We start our legal series next weekend for studying for the bar. All right. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Congratulations, too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.